Coach, hope you've had a great week, sir. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Ryan, thank you. I'm glad to be here and hope that you're doing well. I know you're not doing too well, but hope you're doing as well as you can. Same as I.
Well, Coach, what we've been able to say here in 3 days, and sometimes you just got to give credit to the other opponent. Auburn brought the heat to Alabama. They beat Alabama. They whipped Alabama.
They did, and the truth of the matter is Alabama has not played all that well the last 3 games. Against LSU, they didn't play all that well, but they did beat them. And then against Mississippi State, they didn't play all that well, but they did win the game. And they didn't play as well as they're capable of playing, and they lost this game. Because you got to give credit to Auburn. They played extremely well and played hard. And I'm sure that the fans had something to do with it, too. I would say that out of 100-something thousand people, they didn't give maybe Alabama 5,000 seats, and I'm sure that played a part in the game.
Well, Coach, I was there on the sidelines. You couldn't even hear the guy that was right beside you. I mean, it was just deafening loud, and I think it even picked up like earthquake is what they said. I mean, seismic activity on the ground. It was so loud.
Well, it's pretty loud in Tuscaloosa too.
Sure.
But maybe the next time we play Auburn in Tuscaloosa, we can repay the compliment and be just as loud as they were.
Sure, Coach. This college football playoff discussion, I'm curious where you see Alabama as one of the best teams in college football, or do you think they belong in the Final Four?
Well, I would say that if you would ask Oklahoma, ask Clemson, ask Wisconsin, ask Auburn, who do they not want to play, and they would nearly all say they wouldn't want to play Alabama. So you've got to think that Alabama is one of the best teams in the country. But when the people are making the decision, they say, well, they didn't win the conference, which weighs heavily. Oklahoma's going to win their conference, and Clemson wins, they'll win their conference. Wisconsin wins, they'll win theirs, and Auburn won theirs. So I think that's the thing that is hurting Alabama, is that if you're going to lose a game, it looks to me like it's better to lose it early than late.
Well, Coach,
I still think Alabama is one of the best 4 teams in the country.
Well, I mean, certainly we do too here in Tuscaloosa. But I look at that committee. I like former coaches on that committee. I think that is like Frank Beamer and Jeff Bauer and Bobby Johnson and different coaches that have coached the game. I'm not a huge fan of these current athletic directors being on this committee. That it just seems to really be a bias. I'm
not for the athletic. I think all the people to be on the committee should be Hall of Fame coaches that have won national championships, that understand what a good team is, offensively and defensively, and special teams. And because the whole idea is to pick the 4 best teams. If you just going to pick them by win-loss record, you wouldn't need the committee. Or if you just going to pick them by the teams that won the conference championship, you wouldn't need the committee. The committee both basically says who the best 4 football teams in the country are. So that's the reason I'm opposed to the committee being made up of athletic directors and various people that has never coached.
Coach, you were on the Legends Committee, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct?
That's correct. I'm going to be at the game, and I was all set to watch Alabama play. But anyway, I don't know whether I'm going to watch the game or not, but I am going to be there for the festivities.
Well, yeah, obviously the SEC Legends, but going back to the Legends poll that was out a couple of years ago where all the coaches voted, you were a part of that, right? Were you?
I was a part of that from the conception. I was part of the poll, and we had an excellent poll. I mean, we would discuss various teams, discuss the strengths and the weaknesses of them, had no agenda other than to pick what we felt like was the 10 best teams in the country. They wanted us going down and name 20, but after it gets 10, 11, it's just anybody's guess. But we could pick out the top 4 teams, and we had a reason for it. And yeah, that committee lasted, I guess, 2 or 3 years, but they didn't ever have a sponsor, so we did away with it this year.
Well, but I guess what I'm looking at, when we feature former players and coaches that can understand the game more complex than we could ever dream about, it seems like that those 5 former coaches on that committee would have the power to persuade somebody who's never coached the game or never played the game that can convince, hey, listen, Alabama's a good team. This team, Clemson's a good team. Auburn, obviously, I think they're one of the best, if not the best team in college football right now. It seems like that those coaches would have enough persuasion to convince the people that have not coached the game that, hey.
Well, they shouldn't. The committee should be able to pick the 4 best teams on their own without asking anybody their opinion. That's the whole idea, is put people on there that can make a decision. If you're going to just sit around and listen to what somebody else says, then you can just have anybody on the committee. But the idea of being on the committee is that you can pick the 4 best teams in America. If you can't, you shouldn't be on the committee. I don't even know what coaches are on it.
Well, you've got Bobby Johnson, former coach at Vanderbilt. You've got Tyrone Willingham.
Bobby Johnson, he's a good man, but has he won a national championship?
No, sir.
Is he in the Hall of Fame?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
Tyrone Willingham, coached at Notre Dame.
Is he a Hall of Fame coach?
No, sir.
Did he win a national championship?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
You've going through and looking at let's see if I make sure I've got Herb Dermariti, head coach at Central Michigan University for 38 years. We can answer that question. Jeff Bauer, Southern Miss. No, he never won. I mean, I get where you're. Frank Beamer, obviously, is a lot of respect, but he's never won a national title. Coach, I'm with you. You made me a believer now.
Yeah, if you had coaches that have won the national championship and the Hall of Fame coaches, in the eyes of the coaching profession, they're the best that there is. They wouldn't be the Hall of Fame coaches. And anyway, that's my opinion. But it's been my opinion from day one. Not that these guys can't do a good job, but I just felt like it's something as important as picking out the 4 best teams in the country. We had the coach from Nebraska. Tom Osborne was on it for a while, but for whatever reason he got off. And Tom Osborne was an outstanding coach.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Let's take some phone calls. 205-342-9904. Red, good afternoon. You're on with Coach Stallings.
Good evening, Coach. I hope you're doing well, sir.
Red, I'm doing fine. I went to the doctor in Dallas the other day and got a good report, so I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you for asking.
That's great. Well, I so love the way you just broke it down about who should be on this daggone committee. That was excellent right there.
Is the best response I've heard up until this point.
Amen.
Yeah, but you've got to use a little common sense, and I'm not very smart, but I do have some common sense.
Amen, brother. Amen to that. Everybody said amen on that one. Coach, back when you was coaching here at Alabama, was there a set age on a student wanting to become a walk-on for the team?
Was there a what now?
Age limit. And after that, what was the oldest person that played for you when you was here at Alabama?
Oh, an age limit? No, there was no age limit. I don't even know who the oldest player was, but I know they got some pretty old ones in pros, and they're playing extremely well. So, if somebody is, in fact, who's the team that performs well every year, but their players are a year older than everybody else's. They go on a mission trip for a year, and I think the year would make a difference if you had an extra year.
One quick thing, Coach. I'm going to be very upset for a whole year now. What do you recommend for me trying to get over losing to Cal College?
Get over what now, Red?
Losing to Cal College. It's going to bother me till we play them and beat them again.
Well, somewhere along the line, when we lose a game, we got to step aside and give credit to the people that did it. And Alabama just did a great job. I think that Coach Saban has absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It's just that it was this was Auburn's year to beat Alabama, and they played well. And I think we got to give credit to the team. It's no disrespect to Alabama. I thought they played well, and they won 11 games, just lost one. So I think they have an opportunity to be in the 4 playoff games.
Well, Coach, I love you. Enjoy talking to you, sir, and tell Miss Ruth Ann hello. Y'all have a blessed day, sir.
Red, thank you, and it's always good to talk to you, and hope you're feeling well.
Coach, I want to go back before we continue to take phone calls. The phones have been jammed up, and we do have one line available. Red just dropped off, 205-342-9904. Ohio State lost by 31 points at Iowa. You think that team should have a privilege of playing for a national title? I mean, they've got 2 losses.
But now look, Clemson lost to a team that hadn't beat anybody. You know, so sometimes you just, for whatever reason, Syracuse won, 2 or 3 games. So the same thing can be said about Clemson. And yet I feel like they're one of the 4 best teams in the country just because they lost a game. Everybody can't win them all, and the opponent has something to do with you losing a game. So that's the reason there's more in it than just a win-loss record.
All right, let's take JK. JK, you're up with Coach Stallings.
Hey, Coach, how you feeling today?
JK, I'm feeling fine, thank you.
You sound strong as ever, Coach. That's a good sign.
Well, I appreciate it, and I got a good report from the doctor in Dallas, and so I think my heart's on the way to recovery.
You know, that always makes me feel like I won something when I get a good report from my doctor. I feel like I won at the dice table or something. I always get a good feeling there, you know. It gives me a good report.
Well,
Coach,
go ahead.
how important is it for a team to establish an offensive identity?
Say that again now.
How important is it for our team to establish an offensive identity?
Well, I think it has an identity. They're going to run the football, and they ran it extremely well, and then for whatever reason they quit running. So I don't know whether that's who's ever responsible for calling the plays or what, but I felt like when Alabama was running the football that they were in control of the game, and that they play defense, they run the football, they stop the run, and when you get away from what they really believe in, sometimes bad things happen. That's what happened in this game.
Would you say that that's been our identity this year, that we've been a predominantly running team?
Yeah, I think Alabama runs the football and they stop the run. That's the strength of Alabama's team.
I'd have to agree with you. At least in the past. I'm not real sure that I can figure out our identity this year because our quarterback seems to be running more than our running backs, and if you do it per ratio, our second-string quarterback is with 8 touchdowns and 53 passes is done percentage-wise done better than our starter.
But he didn't start the games, and there's a difference of going in at the half or going into the end of the third quarter as opposed to starting the game. People play a little tougher when scores on the line, but so it's hard to compare what somebody does coming off the bench as opposed to somebody that lines up and starts every week. I think the quarterback, my opinion, did an excellent job, and I think that's one of the reasons that they won 11 games because the quarterback performed extremely well.
Oh, yes, I would never dump it in our quarterback's lap because there's 10 other fellows on the team that's got to do their job for our quarterback to be a success. And
right.
I'm not sure all 11 of us were on the same page at the same time in that Auburn game.
And he'll be the kid that played last year will be the starting quarterback next year, too.
Coach, I got one more question for you, then I'm going to get off the line and let another caller in. Whatever game Alabama plays next, whether it's a bowl game or in the playoffs, how do you think Alabama will respond to this off time and this adversity that they face playing Auburn?
Well, I think a lot of that depends on Coach Saban, and I think Coach Saban will have the team ready to play. They'll give a few days to just lick the wounds and say we didn't play well, but then when that game's over, you get ready for the next one. I think he has a real knack of getting his team ready to play. So whoever Alabama plays next, I think it'll probably be Alabama's best team.
I sure wouldn't want to be that team, Coach. I don't care who it is. I wouldn't want to be it because I think that we're going to come out with fire in our eyes. Thank you for the time, Coach. It's always a blessing to talk to you, and you've made my day once again. And God bless you, Coach.
Thank you,
Thank
JK.
you, JJ.
Let's go here to Ellis in Manchester, Tennessee. Ellis, you're on with Coach Stallings. Ellis? All right. Couldn't hear Ellis. That means one line's available, 205-342-9904. Pee-wee, good afternoon. You're on with Coach Stallings.
Coach, how are you doing today, sir?
Pee Wee, I'm doing fine, thank you. Other than the loss, I'm doing extremely well.
Well, that's good to hear. Coach, what I wanted to ask you about was the playoff committee. It seems like every year that we've had this, each committee has had their own kind of set of criteria that they use whether to rank these teams. And I understand that at the end of the year, you want the 4 best teams to be playing in this playoff. And do not get me wrong, because Auburn is probably playing better than any team in the nation on both sides of the ball at this time of the year. But it seems like they're not taking in consideration that they did lose 2 games, no matter, one to Clemson and one to LSU. But that doesn't seem to make a difference. I just have a hard time of putting a 2-loss team above an undefeated Wisconsin team, and I was just wondering what your opinion of that was.
Well, the same thing's true about Ohio State. Ohio State's lost a couple of games, and one of them was by a lot of points. And the scuttlebutt is that if Ohio State beats Wisconsin, that they'll jump into the number 3 and number 4 slot. For some reason, I have a hard time going along with that, but that's what a lot of people seem to think. So I think that the win-loss record is important, but I don't think that's the only thing, because sometimes people play tougher schedules than others. I know one year when I was coaching at Texas A&M, my 3 preseason games was LSU in Baton Rouge, Ohio State in Columbus, University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. That was my 3 preseason games. Well, obviously, you can be 0-1, a 1-2, and still a good football team, yet you've lost a game or 2.
Okay, I was just curious about that, because I know that I'm not saying that they're not playing the best ball right now, because in my opinion, I think they are. I think they'll have a very tough time this weekend if Kerryon Johnson is not able to play, because to me, he is the catalyst that makes that offense go.
Well, now, Auburn is playing Georgia, Miami's playing Clemson, Oklahoma's playing TCU, and Wisconsin is playing Ohio State. It wouldn't surprise me who wins the game. I think that obviously Clemson's better than Miami, but Miami's just lost 1 game, and Oklahoma's better than TCU, but TCU's only lost 1 game. So you just can't go by the win-loss record.
All right. Thank you, Coach. I'm glad you're doing well, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Pee Wee. Coach, that about does it here for our time. I certainly always enjoy the conversation. Certainly we'll know next week if Alabama's going to be a part of this college football playoffs. We certainly hope they get their name called on Sunday.
Ryan, does Coach Saban have his television show, a radio show tonight?
No, sir. It's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, usually a lot of times it's after we do our show, he has a show, but you be sure and tell him that those of us that know feels like he did an excellent job this year.
Yeah, he's out right now, Coach, doing a lot of recruiting. Obviously, this early signing period is going to be coming up in about 3 weeks. They've moved it to December the 20th.
That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, people that's good football teams are getting this team ready to go to a bowl, and yet you got to be out recruiting. It's hard to be both places. It's hard to recruit and hard to get your football team ready to play. So I don't know why in the world they settle on that early signing period.